Schizophrenia is a psychiatric condition that is characterized by several different types of symptoms, including psychosis, hallucinations, delusions, depression, social withdrawal, and cognitive impairment, which is a slowing of the thinking processes. So you can imagine that for someone with schizophrenia, all of these symptoms would have a huge impact on the way that they're able to live their lives. And this is why treatment-resistant schizophrenia is so important. So what does that mean to have treatment-resistant schizophrenia? Well, let's pretend that we have 3 patients, Bob, Jenny, and Britney Spears. They all have schizophrenia, so we put them on a first-line antipsychotic. And for Bob, he does very well, and he responds to this medication, and he's able to carry out his life with a reasonably high level of functioning. Now, this is the case for about 65% of patients with schizophrenia. However, that still leaves a significant proportion of patients who are severely impacted by this condition, like Jenny and Britney. So next we move on to clozapine. Now, clozapine is the most effective type of antipsychotic in the treatment of treatment-resistant schizophrenia, but we only use it when we absolutely have to because of its severe side effects that are potentially fatal. But for Jenny, it's not causing any problems. It's doing the job. But Britney probably isn't going to be back on stage anytime soon. So we move to a combination of clozapine and another antipsychotic, and she may respond well, or she may only have a partial response. Now, I just want to pause here for a second, see what it's like to waste time when you really have no time at all. That's quite scary. Okay, so moving along. This is a really interesting phenomenon. We have 3 patients with the same condition, but they only respond to certain medication. Why don't they all respond to the same thing? And can we measure that? A biomarker is a measurable biological characteristic, and the aim of my PhD is to determine biomarkers of treatment-resistant schizophrenia. To do this, I'll be using MRI to look at the structure and the function of the brain in these groups of patients. DTI, or diffusion tensor imaging, allows us to track the movement of water molecules through the brain, and this can give us an idea of the integrity and the structure of white matter in the brain of these patients. Functional MRI tells us about the areas of the brain that are activated in response to a task and therefore require more oxygen. So this gives us an idea of how the brain is functioning. What I'm hoping to find is differences between these 3 groups of patients so that we can find a predictive value in this data that will hopefully allow us to individualize treatment in future. For instance, hopefully we could scan patients who are early on in their course of illness so that we can determine which medication they're more likely to respond to and get them onto more effective treatment faster. Thank you.